Imagine a person with money to spare. They buy high-quality leather boots for $50, keeping their feet dry for a decade. Now imagine a poor person. They can only afford $10 boots, which leak in a single season. Over that exact same decade, they end up spending $100 on cheap replacements, and their feet stay wet the entire time. Terry Pratchett wrote that scenario for a fantasy novel in 1993, but economists use it today because it perfectly describes a mathematical reality. When we talk about the cost of being poor, society usually files the problem under personal finance. We assume the math looks bad because of poor budgeting, a lack of foresight, or a failure of character. But look at this chart tracking 60 years of inflation data, published by the Brookings Institution in July 2024. The line at the bottom shows regular goods and services. The line at the top shows the basket of daily necessities, things no one can opt out of buying. Over 6 decades, the price of absolute essentials grew 36% faster than everything else. The data shows a different cause. That gap proves the extra cost is baked in before any individual makes a purchase. This is the poverty premium. Being poor is quite literally more expensive, dollar for the exact same items. The premium does not happen by accident. It runs simultaneously through every essential private market, behaving like a series of system settings. Take the banking dial. Over 4% of U.S. households are completely unbanked, meaning they are routed entirely to alternative services. Instead of free direct deposit, they pay a premium to cash their checks and buy money orders. For those inside the banking system, overdraft fees, around $35 a pop, fall roughly twice as often on low-income accounts. This chart shows the credit dial in action. In late 2025, a super prime borrower could finance a new car at about 4.6%. A deep subprime borrower buying the exact same vehicle faced a rate of 16%. The market charges thousands of dollars more to the person least able to absorb the hit. At the extreme end of that dial, a typical payday loan carries an annual percentage rate near 400%. The settings apply to daily survival, too. Without a warehouse club membership or the cash to buy groceries in bulk, people are forced to pay convenience store unit prices indefinitely, making milk and cereal measurably more expensive ounce for ounce. And a landmark ProPublica analysis corroborated as recently as 2025 found some insurers charging up to 30% more in minority neighborhoods than in white ones with the same accident costs. Within the private sector, lacking capital actively triggers a compounding series of surcharges simply for participating in daily life. State and municipal governments have their own policy dials, and in many places, they are set to extract revenue directly from those exact same populations. In 2015, a Justice Department investigation found that the city of Ferguson, Missouri, budgeted 23% of its general revenue from fines and fees. The city actively evaluated its police and courts by the amount of money they generated. Across the country, roughly 3/4 of the entire jail population is held pre-trial. In many of those cases, they are detained not because they pose a danger to the public, but because they are unable to post bail. Meanwhile, around 40% of Americans could not cover a $400 emergency out of pocket. The state actively charges people for their own poverty, exacting a toll paid in both municipal fees and physical liberty. We're looking at a representation of the final invisible premium, cognitive bandwidth. Economists Senthil Mullainathan and Eldar Shafir describe this as the mental load of having zero financial slack. When your capacity is maxed out managing rent, fees, and debt, there is no room left for planning. You lose the ability to execute cost-saving strategies. You cannot wait for a sale, prepay, or self-insure against an emergency shock. The Pulitzer-winning sociologist Matthew Desmond makes a crucial point about how this operates. There is no mastermind at work here. There is absolutely no deliberate conspiracy engineered to crush the poor. Desmond defines this system not as design, but as exploitation. It behaves as if someone drew it up only because the disconnected dials, risk-priced insurance, fee revenue policing, credit scoring, all happen to lean in a direction that benefits those who are comfortable. We do not need to look for a villain to explain the wealth gap. We only need to look at the predictable arrangements of the market and who exactly profits from them. If the poverty premium is a series of policy dials rather than a law of nature, we have to ask, what happens when we touch the dial? In December 2024, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau finalized a rule capping large bank overdraft fees at $5. That single change was projected to save around $5 billion a year, putting roughly $225 back into every affected household. By the spring of 2025, Congress repealed that cap using the Congressional Review Act. That specific law now bars the Bureau from ever issuing a substantially similar rule. In the UK, regulators proved the same point. In April 2024, the energy regulator Ofgem closed a classic British poverty premium by officially equalizing the standing charges on prepayment meters with the rates paid by standard direct debit customers. The UK meter equalization and the US overdraft repeal prove the exact same mechanism. The premium moves when policy moves. A specific penalty can be switched off, and it can be deliberately switched back on. The cost of escaping poverty is a quantifiable metric set by the system itself, not a verdict on a person's character. If the premium is a setting, then advocacy has to target the setting. That means pushing for fee caps that survive Congress. It means demanding rate ceilings on small dollar credit and passing bail reforms that stop jailing people simply because they are short of $400. Terry Pratchett's $50 boots were a work of fiction, but they gave us the shape of the actual problem. The question raised by the cost of being poor is not whether people can be taught to choose better boots. It is whether we will stop charging them more for the exact same pair.